So, we have sexual presence. Are we good for time? Yeah? Yeah, okay, sorry. We have sexual presence. We have restraint. What's the third thing? The third thing is actually, there's two things. There's mystique, and I'm going to get into subtext, which is, again, some more advanced stuff. So I started noticing, as I mentioned earlier, when I was studying all these heroes, I guess you'd call them, of seduction, the best, the people who throughout history have been the most successful seducers of all time. Cleopatra, Errol Flynn, Rudolph Valentino, Don Juan de Marco, all these people that sort of were legendary in their time. All of them had one thing in common. Well, they've had a lot of things in common, but the one thing I haven't explained yet they all had in common is that all their lovers that were with them described them as having a certain sense of presence, of mystique, this mystique about them. Something that set them apart from every other guy. So what is that? What is mystique, and how do we get it? How do we have this alluring trait of ourselves that puts us in a place where we are unlike any other guy? Where we communicate that we are someone of exceptionally rare quality. How do you do that? The first way you do this is with a first impression. Now, when you look at some of the greatest seducers of all time, they all had sort of different ways of this first impression. Cleopatra would immortalize herself in the minds of her lovers by staging these grand entrances where she would almost appear like godly, or majestic. The classic example is for Julius Caesar. She was rolled out of a carpet, right? But she did other shit too. I think she at some point she came in on wires. She would dress up in these crazy outfits and stuff. She'd almost try to make it appear, like I said, as if she was a goddess. That's really cool, but we can't do that. We can't come in on wires into a club and I'm here, and with angel wings and shit. Doesn't really work. Believe me, I've tried it. But what we can do is we can be in complete control of the way that women see us, and the way that women, what we communicate when we first meet a girl. I always ask girls that I end up, dating or hooking up with. I always ask them, when did you kind of realize you were attracted to me? When did you figure that out? When did it happen? And they all kind of say the same thing. They all say, oh, right away. And I was like, why? I'm not really that good looking. I'm okay, but I'm not the best looking guy in the club. Why were you attracted to me right away? And I've heard enough times, they say, because you gave off this vibe that even if I didn't want you to talk to me, or even if I didn't like you, it didn't really matter anyway. Almost as if I would have forced her to like me. I guess that's being charming. There's a certain amount of charm associated with that, right? It's like, even if she wanted to reject me, I wouldn't have let her, is the idea. And that's attractive to a woman. It's I always say, the classic example, we talked a little bit this earlier, but about approach invitations. So if a girl is giving you eyes, Versetti made an awesome first impression with the girl that he picked up, right? He's showing a quality. That girl probably doesn't get picked up by guys like that very often, maybe never, right? He's setting himself apart. He's becoming a person of exceptionally rare quality. A guy that when he sees what he wants, he goes over and literally picks it up and takes it, right? That's how he did it. I'm not very big. I can't really do that to a woman, especially in London. That's right. It's a burn. It's a burn. So what I do when I get an approach invitation, let's say, so when a girl gives me eyes, I'm going to go up to her and I'm going to say something like, "I'm sorry, you can't look at me like that and not say anything. What's your name?" That's a really good line, by the way. You guys should write that down. Honestly, when you say something like that, the girl may not even know how to respond to that. She'd be like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. That's okay, you're cute. What's your name? Cool. And you start a conversation from there, and you immediately already have attraction, right? Like I said earlier, don't fucking go up and ask her who lies more question in there. Right? You know, that's all you're showing then is that you're socially retarded. So that's so first impressions. You want to make a good first impression. Now a lot of that, I'm going to talk a little bit later when I get into subtext about how to really make, if you're opening indirect, how to make a strong first impression with your subtext. So we'll get into that in a bit, but just keep that in mind. Dress the part. Peacocking is a term that's been around for a while. We still use it at less systems. I'm not going to lie, it does make a difference. Peacocking, for those of you who don't know, is essentially wearing things, wearing your clothes, wearing certain clothes that sort of really make you stand out. Okay. It's kind of a problem years ago because everyone ended up wearing, with Mystery and stuff like that. Everyone tried to dress like Mystery and wear the big, Dr. Seuss hat and like a Crush Velvet Skidoo suit. And they'd go to the bar, and you'd always see these guys. There'd always be at least one or two guys at the bar. It's like, oh, God. So the idea here with peacocking is that peacocking makes you look like someone with mystique, makes you look like someone with mystique, but it does not give you mystique, okay? And this is the big crucial thing here. So don't fucking dress like a magician if you're not a magician, all right? Don't wear big feather boas and, fire truck hats and all these things that I see guys wearing if it's not part of your identity. It's not part of who you are. So I'm not going to really get into sort of fashion advice or anything like that. But what I will say is, one, find meaning in the things that you wear and what they communicate about you in terms of your character. Okay, so I mean, everything that I'm wearing, not necessarily right now because I'm not wearing something I normally wear out to the bars and stuff, but when I am out, everything that I wear has a reason, it has a purpose, and it communicates something. So, I have a big black rose tattoo. Actually, it turned blue, but I have a big black rose tattoo on my forearm that has a story associated with me surfing in Ireland and sort of some other stuff that I'll get into. She asked about it. I have a necklace that when I went into the deserts in Arizona looking for scorpions so I could eat one. I wanted to eat a scorpion. Yeah, don't ask about that. I happened upon this small little native hut that was selling these necklaces that I saw this one. I asked the native girl what it meant. She said it's an eclipse, represents an eclipse, but it shows sort of duality. And I thought that was really cool, especially considering that on the way back home, when I walked through the desert again, a big storm cloud came in and it would turn the whole desert purple from the orange. So if you can see this, it's orange and purple. So I thought it was really meaningful. Anyway, isn't that a sweet story? Right. Anyway, it communicates something a little bit more about my personality. Why the fuck was I in the desert looking to eat scorpions? I don't know. It makes girls ask more questions and wonder who the fuck I am and why I would do that. But just wear things that communicate a little bit about who you are. That's the most important thing. What does what you're wearing say about that? That's going to give you, say about you. That's going to give you some mystique. Visualization. This is something that's been mentioned by Versetti, and I think 5.0 even mentioned it as well. Visualization is really, really, really huge. It's amazingly huge. And the biggest thing about visualization, and the reason why when I ask guys, I'm like, all right, go talk to that, go talk to that girl over there. You guys know like the 3-second rule that we have? It's like when I tell you to go talk to someone, or when you see someone you want to talk to, you have 3 seconds to go and talk to them. Well, the reason for that is because, one, I mean, you're going to creep a girl out if you're like, okay, I'm going. Girls have radar for that shit. They're going to see that from a mile away and think you're a creep. But the biggest reason why is because after 3 seconds, your brain naturally is going to go into negative visualization mode. And what that means is you're going to think, okay, what am I going to say? Okay, but what if she says this? Oh, fuck. If she says that, what am I going to say? Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. No, that'd be fucked. How would I? Oh, God. And all of a sudden, what amounts to just talking to, asking a girl a question becomes this huge fucking massive pile of bad shit that can go wrong, right? Negative visualization. It just becomes this, and all of a sudden you can't do it anymore. You're having a heart attack, right? So you can't do that. Positive visualization. As Versetti mentioned, it actually works the same sort of things in your head as if you were actually doing it, And you can actually learn from positive visualization. We have another instructor, Biscuit, a French-Canadian instructor who studies sports psychology. And he actually played hockey for a long time. He was a goalie. And he said that before a game, when he was in the back of the bus, before a big game, he would visualize in his head all the different shots and how he would save them. And they did studies where when they hooked people up to these sensors that were studying their brain, the same neurons were firing in their head as if they were actually performing the actions. So you can actually, like I said, as Rossetti mentioned, there is a benefit to positive visualization. It does help you quite a bit. Before I talk to a girl, I'm almost always visualizing exactly how I think it would go if it was perfect. And then I manifest that. I make it happen. And I believe that's going to happen. Positive visualization. That's going to help a lot in terms of creating this sort of mystique, this sort of confidence that comes from this place that the girls don't quite know. Why is he so confident? It's because you just visualize everything that's going to happen, and you know what's going to happen. And so you're confident because you already know it's a done deal. You can see it in the future. Don't give a shit. This is a big one. Don't give a shit. A way to stand out from most guys that talk to girls is to not give a shit. Because most guys give a shit. Most guys care. Most guys, when they talk to girls, get upset if they test them too hard, or they become very reactive. Don't give a shit. The example I like to use about this in terms of how not giving a shit is powerful. There was this is weird. I was on a bus when I was in university. It was in London, Ontario. I was on a bus, and it was a snowy day, and there's lots of snow, and the people that are coming on the bus are creating lots of snow on the bottom of the steps you go up to get on top into the bus. And this girl, as she was coming onto the bus, and it was a full bus because it was a university bus, as she was coming onto the bus, slipped and fell on her ass in the aisleway. And everyone kind of saw. Everyone was kind of like, we didn't laugh or anything too much, but it was kind of like, oh, that looks like it hurt. And she got really fucking upset and made a huge deal out of it. She made a huge deal out of it. And she was just like, oh my God. And she was like freaking out, almost having a heart attack. And she started crying and shit. But what she didn't realize is after 5 minutes, everyone on that bus fucking forgot about it. No one gave a shit anymore, right? But as humans, sometimes we don't realize that. Honestly, no one gives a shit about what you do or how embarrassing the thing you just did is. It really only matters to you. No one cares. That girl, when everyone went home off that bus today, they didn't probably bring up to their friends. It didn't matter. It was funny for the moment, and then it was done. But she made a huge deal out of it, and it really affected her in a negative way because she was thinking what the lasting impression of that would be. Well, there was none. So don't give a shit. If a girl blows you out, she, honestly, a lot of the time the difference between getting blown out and not getting blown out is the fact that you were affected by what she said. So being unreactive, I keep bringing it up, but being unreactive is a huge quality that you need to start practicing. Not caring, having that uncaring attitude. I always say that when I go out, I don't go out to pick up girls. My motive when I go out isn't to fuck girls. I don't care. My motive to go out is to fuck with people. I just go out to fuck with people. That's what I do. I fuck with people because that's what's fun to me. Messing with people's heads. Making them believe dumb shit for no reason. And my friends know this very well because I do to them too. But that's what's funny for me. That's what's fun for me. It's like this sort of this era of self-amusement. That's all you really care about. You don't care about if she likes you or not. Who the fuck cares? I don't give a shit. I got lots of girls that like me. It's not why I'm talking to you, right? It's that sort of attitude you want to have. Self-amusement. So that's mystique. I'm going to get into subtext now. And it kind of has a lot to do with mystique too, so there's correlations here. So what is subtext? Subtext is the underlying meaning behind spoken words. It's what the words actually mean by the way that you said them, not by what was said. This is how women communicate exclusively. I'll give you guys an example. All right, actually, before I give that example, I'll give you guys an example just of me doing subtext so you guys can have an understanding of what it is. All right, so let's say I'm going to say the exact same thing twice. Versetti actually did this earlier, did a really good job. I'm just going to give you guys another example of this, okay? So for instance, if I said this, hey guys, yeah, sorry I was late for the seminar today. Something happened on the way here, and anyway, I won't get into it, but maybe we'll start now. Okay? Said that. All right, I'm going to say the same thing again, different subtext. Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Something kind of happened on the way here, and anyway, I won't get into it, but anyway, we'll start now. All right. So I said the exact same thing, but what was the difference there? In the first one, what happened? What was the communication? Oh, yeah, fuck, someone got murdered, or like someone got hit by a car or something, right? Like, oh shit. What was the second one? I got fucked on the way here, or like, you know, like, but it's a huge difference there, right? But I said the exact same thing. That's what subtext is. Subtext is what is actually being communicated, not what you're saying. This goes back again to this 90% of communication is your body language. Because everything I just did there all had to do with my body language. Some of it was tone, obviously, and stuff like that, but that's still part of your body language. It's still affected by it. Okay? So when I said earlier, women communicate almost exclusively with subtext. It makes sense. Any of you guys that have had a girlfriend before, she's mad at you, and you're like, what's the matter? Are you mad? No, I'm not mad. Okay. She's mad, right? That's the most perfect example, I guess, you could find. Essentially what it comes down to is, what are you thinking when you say what you say? Now this is interesting, because you can think whatever you want to think when you say something. You have complete freedom over that. So why are you thinking what you're thinking when you say what you say? Most guys, when they, most guys that have no game, or even guys that are just learning and stuff, when they go and talk to girls, even if they have lines that we give them, even really good lines, the subtext they have when they say it is, I'm trying to pick you up, and I really hope you don't reject me. This is true. I really hope you like me. I really hope, And that's what they're communicating. It doesn't matter if they're the best line in the world, because that's what they're communicating. You have to be in control of what you're thinking when you talk to women. Honestly, this is the difference between guys that are really good and guys that are just okay. I can say a line that sounds retarded. I use that word a lot. But I embed it with subtext that makes it mean something completely different. For instance, I can open up a girl with, hey, do you like salad? I love salad. It's nutritious and delicious. It's a really stupid line, right? Like, why the hell would you say that to a girl? But if you have the right subtext, you can communicate something else with that. You can communicate, maybe, I'm fucking with you. You get it? Right? So when you're in control of your subtext, you can associate different meanings to different words. You can associate sexual meanings, which is the most important, I think, in terms of what we're talking about today. What are you thinking? So, in a conversation with a girl, a woman, she's always trying to assign a certain role to you, okay? Whether it be guy hitting on me, nice guy, sweet guy, seductive guy, fucking sexy guy, and then, it keeps going, right? Your role and what determines your role has nothing to do with what you say. It has everything to do with your body language and your subtext. And that is how she's going to place you into that role. So understand that. You're playing a role. Now, she'll try to push you into a role that you don't want. She will. She'll try to push you into it. So I said earlier, why are you talking to me? Is that your best line? She's going to try to push you into a role that you don't want to be. Because she's trying to test you to see, are you that guy? I'm going to push you into that. If you're strong enough to not take that role, maybe I'll talk to you. Maybe I'll like you. So understand that when she's doing that, you have to not accept that role. And you don't not accept it by telling her you're not that role or by fighting it. You not accept it by reaffirming what you think your role is. This is what I did earlier, right? Is that your best line? Yep, that's my best line. Did it work? Right? I'm implying that you're trying to put me in a role, but I see what you're doing. and it's not going to work. I'm so charming that there's nothing you can say to me to reject me that's going to work. Go ahead and try. I dare you. That's the belief that I have in my head when I talk to girls. When I open girls, I'm not thinking, I really want to get this girl. I'm not thinking, oh God, I hope she likes me. I'm thinking, I dare you to reject me. Go ahead, try it. See if it works, because it's not going to. I'm so charming, it can't work. And I'll prove that to you if you want me to. Go ahead, test me. I actively encourage it. Go ahead, I dare you. Of course, like I said, this isn't anything that I'm saying. This is all what I'm communicating through my subtext, through the way I react, the way that I say what I say to her. I'm encouraging her. I want her to test me. Because when I do that, they usually don't. I nip it in the bud. Not only do I do that, the way that I do this is I burn my beliefs into her eyes. I burn them in there. Not laser eyes. It's you'll notice I was doing it tonight. And that's what I do. When I go in to talk to a girl, I look her right in the eyes and I burn that belief into it. So when she responds to me, when she reacts in a certain way, maybe it's negative in a shit test type of way, or in a test type of way, I'm going to burn that belief into her eyes. I'm going to look her right in the eyes and very confidently react the way that I do. That says, go ahead, I dare you to keep doing this. In fact, I want you to, because I want to show you how good I am at this. I'm gonna checkmate you every single time. There's nothing that you can say to me that's gonna affect me. How do you do that? It's really fucking easy. Remember I said earlier, the simple, most subtle reactions are the best because they hint at something greater. So I don't even have to prove it. I don't even have to pass her test because merely by the way of acting like I am going to pass makes me pass the test. The simplest answer is the best answer. Channeling. This is interesting. I watched a lot of Marlon Brando, early Marlon Brando. Write this down. Watch the movie The Wild One. Anyone seen that? Fucking awesome. See, notice the guys that have seen it are the guys that actually study seduction. Yeah. The Wild One. Amazing. The reason why it's amazing, and I mean Marlon Brando did this in almost all his early roles. Everything Marlon Brando says in that movie is fucking oozing with sexual confidence. It's oozing with this subtext. He's a master at subtext. This is why a lot of really great actors admire Brando so much. He has this amazing ability to create layers and layers and layers of communication into everything that he says. Every actor that I've ever known knows that fucking Brando is one of the best actors of all time because he's capable of doing this. He can add so much into so little. It's fucking amazing. Watch The Wild One. But this channeling that I'm talking about, a lot of the time when I was thinking about sort of how I wanted to appear in terms of my physical presence, the way that I moved, a lot of the time I'd try to be like, there's a couple that I would do. One would be Marlon Brando. I'd think, what would Brando do? Another was I'd think, this one's kind of funny, but it works really well, is I'd think, Jack Nicholson high. This sounds funny at first, right? What would Jack Nicholson, if he was high, act like? All right? You kind of get that little swagger, that confidence, that raised eyebrow, that sort of look of like, I don't give a shit and I'm just out to fuck with people look on your face. I'd do that. Now, the thing with channeling is, all great artists, whether it be painting or even acting in some cases, or anything where they create something, all great artists usually say that their art doesn't come from them. It doesn't come from them. It comes from somewhere else, and they're just able to channel it. It flows through them, and they're able to put that onto paper if it's a painting, or onto screen if it's a performance. It doesn't actually come from them. It comes from somewhere else. So a lot of the time when I tell people, channel this person, or channel, look at Brandon, look at David Duchovny's character in Californication, look at all these sort of role models. They think, well, that's not me. I'm not really that person, or I'm not, I don't want to act like somebody else. Well, that's not what it is. What it is when you channel that person, you're not being them. You're channeling the same thing that they were channeling. You're taking the same thing that they took, and you're filtering it through you. You think Marlon Brando was always fucking, that confident? growing up? No, he wasn't. He just learned how to be it through experiences and stuff like that. And he learned to become this person that he was. In fact, he was known in real life as being actually not very much like his characters on screen. He was a very sweet guy. He was very, wasn't necessarily that seductive. He was just a very sweet, really easygoing guy. And so those characters that he played, he channeled that. And that's what you have to do. It's not about being somebody else. It's about, as we say in Love Systems, it's about being the best possible version of you. So when you channel that, you know, that Brando, that Jack Nicholson high, you're not that person. You're just taking those beliefs that they had, those values, those things in their head, and you're channeling it through you and emitting it through your body language and your physicalities. So like I said, don't think that you're just doing a performance. In fact, I wouldn't say that at all. It's going to become very fake if you do that. You're channeling it. So channel it. Like I said, watch The Wild One. Maybe later on when we do the bonus stuff, I'll go over some more things. We have a Q&A later too, so I'll go over some if you guys have questions about things to look at. Using your voice to emphasize your subtext. The way that I do this, as I mentioned earlier, slowing it down, adding pauses between every word that you say. You can make what you're saying have a little bit more meaning, a little bit extra sensuality to what you're saying. Makes what you're saying seem a little bit more important, like it's worth paying attention to. You're a spectacle, right? Good. So that's the last thing I wanted to say. That is my talk on advanced body language. Is there any other questions about, I guess, are we good for time or should I, is there time for a few questions?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it too. I mean, is there any questions about everything I just talked about? There's no questions, no questions. But.
How does what you were saying there about just general attitude relate to day game?
Day game? We're actually going to have a keychain. Another instructor is going to be talking a bit about day game and about how body language relates to day game. He's giving a primer on that. So you know, if you're sticking around, he'll be able to go over some of that sort of stuff with you. But I mean, I guess in terms of what I just said, you can't get away with as much of it in the daytime because you're not really in an environment where that seductive quality would really translate that as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not in the dark, you're not having drinks, you're not in that environment where you're dressed nice and stuff like that necessarily. So little things can work. The sort of the look of mild arousal on your face as you're talking to her, that sort of look of judgment, like you're sort of adjudicating her, that works really well regardless daytime, nighttime. But the you know, the seductive like walking and movements and shit doesn't really work that well in daytime. They're just going to see you from a mile away and think you're a player. So so that sort of stuff isn't going to work as well. But I mean, if you just look at it, it kind of makes sense in terms of, I mean, you can kind of get a good idea of what would work and what wouldn't just based on these sort of logistics of where you are. So just keep that in mind. But like I said, keychain's going to be a little bit about that later. So yeah.
So on the one hand, it's like every single movement should be a spectacle. And on the other hand, it's like don't give a shit about anything.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that every movement you make should be a spectacle. What I'm saying is slow down your movements. And this is the problem sometimes with this, is that you can't really exaggerate this. Because if you exaggerate it, they're going to think that you're high or really drunk, right? It's going to be very, very subtle. So you got to practice this. You got to make it become part of a little bit of a part of who you are. So practice it until you get it right. And like I said, you can gauge how it's working by the look on their face and why the reaction you're getting from it. But I mean, to answer your question, not giving a shit and this presence thing, they kind of go together. Because when you slow your movement down and you move languidly and stuff like that, you're actually almost communicating that you don't give a shit. Because you're not being reactionary. You're not having jerky movements and doing things which reacting to her. So they do kind of go together. But the other thing about it is that when you're poeticizing your presence, that's never really explicitly communicated. That's always just sort of implied through your movement. So not giving a shit has more to do with the way you react, and the spectacle stuff has more to do with the way you move within that. If that makes sense. Yeah. One more question. All right, one more. Go ahead. That's all right.
About the visualization, you do that only in field, or you do it even in your free time?
Physical escalation?
No, visualization.
Oh, visualization. I do it for everything. Everything that I do.
And you do it at home by yourself?
I'm doing it right now.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I do though. I do it all the time. Now, I mean, I'm not like, it's not like I'm going to brush my teeth and I'm visualizing how awesome I'm going to brush my teeth or anything. But whenever I'm trying to do something that requires thought, requires sort of, precision, requires talent, then yes, I'm going to visualize it. I'm going to try to visualize myself doing it. And that's going to help. So, yeah, that's good. All right, good. So, guys, this represents sort of we're at the end of the main core of what this, the main sort of core content of what this program is. Beyond words, the art of body language and physical escalation. What's coming up next, we have some bonuses for you guys. Wanted to sweeten the deal a little bit. So we've included, we have a couple of guest speakers. Actually, we have Keychain, who's at the back there. He's going to be talking about rapid physical escalation, which is essentially spotting the shortcuts in escalation and taking advantage of them. There is a bit of a risk versus reward there. Like I said, 5.0 talked about physical escalation. Keychain is going to be talking more about how to spot the shortcuts, how to take those, bridge some gaps in there in terms of going very speedy with it. He's also doing day game, as I mentioned. And I imagine he's going to go into a little bit about body language in the course of day game as well. He's written articles on day game as well, so I imagine he'll get into sort of a primer on that. Versetti is going to be speaking about beliefs. He has a presentation on beliefs that he'll be doing, which I've read his article about it. It's very good, so we'll be getting into that. As well, I'll be doing a short primer on online game, which is, I have a book coming out in the future, so I just want to give you guys a little bonus. I'm going to give you a little primer on that. If any of you guys are interested, I'm just going to go over sort of the basics of that, give you guys a little bit of that. So, but like I said, this makes up the core, the end of the main presentations. So I want to thank the speakers we had, 5.0, Versetti, who will be up again, but worthy of a round of applause. I'd also like to thank the invisible man in this sort of program, this content, who is Mr. M, Jim. He played a huge role in this. None of this would be happening right now if it wasn't for him. He's decided to stay behind the camera for this whole thing, but believe me when I say he's helped out tremendously, not just with the organization, but with the content, and helping all the presenters in terms of contributing to their content and make sure that everything got communicated. So, round of applause for him as well. All right, so we're gonna have a short break, I imagine, and then we're gonna kick off the extra content, and then we'll have a Q&A after that. So stick around. All right.